Good afternoon, everyone. I work for the San Mateo County Union Community Alliance. We are a nonprofit affiliated with the Labor Council of the San Mateo County. We work in partnership with communities, so we try to bridge labor organizations, the unions, with the community partners in San Mateo. I'm going to talk about our campaign for community benefits in South San Francisco. That started in 2012, and the final specific area plan was actually adopted in February 2015 last year. So it's been over a year now since the adoption of the plan. I do want to highlight some of the 3 points that will explain where we're coming from with our advocacy work. So we are an organization that, even though we work locally, we are a local organization. We think about these issues as regional issues for working families. This is happening, displacement, the lack of adequate jobs are issues that are happening across the Bay Area. But we focus our advocacy efforts at the local level, as well as we have regional advocacy efforts that target our transportation agency, as well as the ABAC, the Association of Bay Area Governments. I do want to, Julianne referred to this, but some of the traditional versus non-traditional community benefits and our experience in South City will highlight some of those, the difference between what is considered traditional, and I'm referring mainly here in San Mateo County, what we've seen more historically here in the county. And then talking about project-based versus area-wide benefits. The advocates here in the county and across the Bay Area are trying to move away from the project-by-project advocacy efforts that are so time-consuming to really exploring the area-wide benefits that Julianne was referring. So just in context, give you a little bit of background on the downtown plan. The plan was no different from the other urban renewal plans that you will see in other priority development areas in the Bay Area. They basically have all really good intentions but mixed results when it comes to working families. You see the pictures from the plans that you get from the consultants. The above are empty streets and vacant lots and really poor trees, no people, and then the vision will be happy people, happy places, and we resolve everyone's issues with the plan. Okay? So this is something that we the consultants are really good at doing in terms of visualizing the future of our communities. And the good intentions are that we are trying to accommodate population growth in transit-oriented development to mitigate climate change. But the actions that we are given to governments in these plans are increasing the land value significantly by government action, upzoning, creating the priority development areas at the regional level, as well as putting a lot of money on transportation investments. In South City, for example, they needed millions of dollars to move the Caltrain platform in order to make the downtown connect the east side with the west side. These are public decisions and public dollars, and our advocacy efforts are trying to maximize the benefits that are that we are basically investing in through our tax dollars and giving the powers to our elected officials to make these decisions. So like Julianne was referring, this effort will fall within the realm of the zoning. This is not a specific project community benefit agreement. We were trying to get benefits out of the specific area plan, the entire area. And because most of this area was upzoned, they were increasing density and heights, and the land values, of course, were going up because of all this decision, as well as all the transportation investment that is expected. The public process for the South City was, intended to reach out to different sectors of the population, and it actually, they were good at providing translation. We need, South City, for example, is 50% the downtown, is a little bit over 50% Latinos. So we wanted to make sure that they had translated outreach material as well as translation at the meetings. But again, then they use tools to make it very easy for people to understand the changes in their community. So some of the public workshops were really good at facilitating, tough conversations around, what you want in your community. But again, I think what we are seeing now is that the new development that is coming is still, displacing people, the existing residents of South City. We are hearing from the small business having to, rethink their strategy if staying in downtown or not. Even though we are seeing a lot of growth around residential and commercial development. So this is the story of many of the downtowns and many of the prior development areas that we are seeing, across the Bay Area. So what we were asking is basically, what the way we approach it, and I'm talking about my organization and the coalition, but it's a wide range of organizations that are working on these specific area plans. We wanted a plan that will reflect the needs and the assets of the existing communities. And what we are seeing instead across the Bay Area is a deficit-based, a deficit-focused planning process. So instead of the questions that we are hearing at community meetings are usually, for example, my organization focuses on quality jobs. So instead of asking what are the existing skills of our local workforce and how we can help them access the new jobs that will come with development, it is more, we often hear what is the type of development that would attract the type of residents that can access those new jobs. So what are the new population that we want to target? And in South City in particular was the idea of attracting biotech workers that work on the east side. We were not opposed to this at all. We want people that work on the east side to live in the downtown. But those questions seem to be mutually exclusive when they were not. It was a one-sided process. And this is something that we are trying to change. We want to, these planning processes to start building from the assets that the existing community has in those specific areas. So our work at the regional level, our perspective comes from the affordability crisis is happening all over. This is, a snapshot of the urbandisplacement.org website that UC Berkeley is putting together, where you can access your community and see displacement and gentrification. It's a really easy tool. So here I give you a little bit of San Francisco, San Mateo, and the East Bay. The darker the purple, the darker the gentrification process in low-income census tracts. The darker the orange, the more displacement, advanced displacement in modern and high-income census tracts. But the idea is that the affordability crisis that is experienced across the Bay Area is an issue of high housing prices, lack of tenant protections, and a bifurcated labor market. That basically what we are seeing is that we are not producing in the Bay Area the middle wage jobs that would provide in our people the middle class lifestyle. We're producing a significant number of low income jobs below $18 an hour and high income jobs. So we have a crisis because of the housing prices, but also because of the type of jobs that we are creating at the regional level. And in particular in San Mateo County, just to give you a sense of the magnitude of the problem, we, in between 2007 and 2014, we created 33,000 jobs, but only 7,000 units of housing. Most of those units, around over 60%, were for market rate housing. So it's definitely an issue that we keep that regional perspective because it's happening all across our communities in the region. So when we think about community benefits, then at the local level, our action focus on how can we make these specific area plans as equitable as possible, given that that's where we are concentrating the population and the job growth of our region. So the zoning approach has been really tough for community organizations to engage with cities because there are not many precedents around. And as Julianne said, it's not a legitimate process. No one wants to take the risk of really ensuring equitable economic development through zoning decisions. But I think what we did was in South City, at least, the language we were able to include around jobs. So just to give you the traditional benefits that we've been seeing through density bonuses was around affordable housing units, environmental mitigation, open space. The non-traditional benefits and the ones that we were having more difficulty in the conversations with staff was around the creation of quality jobs. And we are talking about construction jobs, the short-term jobs that come with development, but also the long-term jobs. If you're planning for retail jobs, are those retail subject to a living wage or not, or a minimum wage? Then the other is access to the jobs that we're going to be creating. Who is going to be accessing to those jobs? Do we have a targeted hiring policy? Do we have, around San Mateo, the local hire is a little bit controversial because, and you don't see other than East Palo Alto, we don't see it in many other places. But we wanted more those jobs to go to disadvantaged workers from the community. The other issue was around protection for existing tenants. So we can talk about housing, affordable housing in terms of units, but how are we protecting the existing residents that are in affordable housing at this point? So, and the other one that came out that was very interesting is the open space based on resident needs. And that was one of the issues that a group of youth from South City put together a request of things that they would like to see. And the open space that the language that we got on the plan didn't reflect any of those specific needs. I mean, they were talking about skating and things that they will do for recreation. And the open space was not think in that way. It wasn't thought that way in the plan. But we did get, I think it's like, in order to accomplish this wide range of benefits around jobs, around housing, open space, we wanted, transportation for our families. We put together a coalition of labor, environmental groups, affordable housing advocates, tenants advocates, and this is like very unusual even for us to engage in this partnership. I mean, we started in 2012, now it's more common, but it was hard for us to start talking about the issues that were uncomfortable to us. The labor movement is usually, the trades are pro-growth, and then you have the environmental groups that are, were skeptical of affordable housing developers that wanted, affordable housing unit in some development. So that required, tough conversations among the partners before we created the platform that listed all our requests or principles for the advocacy group. But we did our fair, we got together for over 6 months to really come to an agreement on what we were going to push forward. And it was actually a platform that reflected, significant, from requiring area standard wages, that is basically prevailing wage for construction workers in the private sector, targeted hiring, affordable housing. We even mentioned, tenants protections. That was very controversial when we started the coalition. And we engaged, transportation advocates as well, and we were able to come out with a very a broad platform of issues. So that was an achievement in itself for some, for our organizations in San Mateo County. I think what the final plan included good language on transportation and some around open space. And for quality jobs, it actually encouraged area standard wages for construction workers and targeted on local hiring and first sourcing, which is the use of local business for development. But again, it's not abiding, it's all volunteer. It did not include any specific language around affordable housing and tenants protection. So there's the city has some policies in place like inclusionary housing, but doesn't apply to the development that is happening in downtown because it's all rental and it only applies to for sale at this point. And around rental protections, renters protections, there wasn't any implementation plan for how to protect the existing tenants. So the achievement in itself, I think it was that we actually got a broader range of benefits described in this area specific plan. The implementation plan within the plan wasn't as clear as how the city was going to implement it. During that time, we also had a lot of staff transition. So when the plan, and this is another challenge that we see from the advocacy world, is that, especially the cities that had very limited in their staff capacity, then we lost pretty much everyone that we were working with for the implementation phase. And because the plan didn't really have a clear path on how to implement at least those ideas that were raised during the plan, it was kind of like starting over again. So what we were striving around implementation was around, how do we make some of these issues citywide policies, targeted hiring, living wage, you can work that way, or you can think about programs like, Redwood City is in the middle of implementing. But we also, suggested ideas like land value capture, transit-oriented overlays, public benefit zones. These are ideas that are emerging around the Bay Area. Some partners in LA are working really hard around equitable TOD overlays. That we are making this concept of area-wide community benefits that will try to capture the value, the added value that government decisions and government investments are created on private developers, for private landowners and developers when they take those decisions and when they put those public dollars in those spaces. So how do we recapture some of that added value? And some of these tools are the ones that we've been suggesting to the different communities we've been working with. We haven't really seen any, I know Redwood City was thinking about land value capture at some point, but we haven't seen much of progress around more of this area-wide concept of community benefits through land value capture. But we continue our work, and we are hoping to see some of these benefits outlined in those plans implemented. So just to give you right now, in South City, these public benefits are negotiated project by project, and it's staff-driven, and with the city council, there's little involvement of the community unless they're in public meetings. So it is time-consuming for advocates to be engaged in all those public meetings, and it's impossible to really keep track of all the development that is already lining up in these communities that are adopting these specific area plans. So with that, I think it's, we are making progress. It's slow progress, but we still have to figure out how to make this a more streamlined process for communities to really get the community benefits they deserve. Thank you.